Well, hello, people. Smash Keys here, playing Smash and Dash. No, Smash and Dash. So, what I want to do, and what Porvaro wants me to do, is I have a whole bunch of games on Steam. Games that I bought on sale. Some of them were like $2. I think MetaHuman Inc. is actually really cheap as well. Maybe check it out. Let me check it out. I'm not going to put that on you. I'm going to do it my own self. So, MetaHuman Inc. There's a free demo on Steam, but it's also $3.29 on Steam. So, but the whole idea, this whole new kind of series, Smash and Dash, is going to be a series where I play a game for a half hour, maybe 20 minutes, see if I like it. If I like it, I'm going to keep playing it. Whether I record it or not, it's no big deal. But I'm at least going to play all the games I have. It's going to take months. But what I want to do is I want to get them out of the way, record them. I'm going to stockpile them, and anytime I have nothing to put out, I'll just put them out, you know. So if you're watching this for the first time instead of something else, I'm sorry I didn't record that video. Maybe I was lazy. I was probably lazy. So hopefully this is going to be a new thing. At least once a week, I'll put out a Smash and Dash, you know. But I'm just going to stockpile them. You might get more than one Smash and Dash each week. But if you do like it, check it out. Maybe say, hey, Smash Keys, play more of that game. So this is MetaHuman Inc. Don't know anything about it. From the Steam page, as the CEO of a corporation that sells superpowers to the highest bidder, you'll harness dark magic and travel through time to inflate your stock prices. Very positive user reviews as well. Didn't know it was going to be, because it looked choose your own adventure kind of thing, which I was excited about. Didn't know it was going to be this much reading. But that is fine. So, Paul Gresty, January. Show stats? I played a little bit. Did I play? No, I played a little bit. Restart. Let's just restart just in case. January. Winston Q is alone in the Nostradamus room waiting for you. He is sitting at the long meeting table that occupies much of the room, his swivel chair turned away from you so that he faces the plate glass windows that run the length of one wall, offering a view out across the city of Seattle. It's always Seattle. A curious habit, given that Winston Q was born completely blind. Come in, he says as you stand in the doorway. Take a seat. You do so. I confess I feel quite underprepared for this meeting, you say, as he turns to face you. But then nobody seems to know what it might be about. Winston Q is the Chief Financial Officer at MetaHuman Incorporated, a position of considerable importance. You can't imagine what you might have done to attract his interest, or, for that matter, his wrath. To all external intents and purposes, MetaHuman Incorporated is a biotechnology firm, Winston continues. We use cutting-edge science to improve the human condition. And of course, we attach a substantial price tag to our services. But you've been with us a while now. You know what really goes on in this building. We play with dark sorceries and extraterrestrial technologies. We gleefully cross the lines that humanity was never meant to. Yes, you answer. Our company is rather unusual. I still don't see why you wanted to speak to me. I wanted to talk to you about the theft of $2 million, he says. The theft that you committed. Okay, so, choose your own adventure, right? So I can, please talk away. You think I stole $2 million? That's ludicrous. I must be ludicrous. I was going to say ridiculous and ludicrous. Mr. Q, I'd never betray this company like that. Believe me, if I wanted to embezzle $2 million, you'd never know about it. I presume you have some sort of proof of this. Please talk away. So I'm guessing if I choose this one, it's going to take me down a different path than this one. Please talk away. All right? I'm guessing. I'm assuming. So it's like if I do more honorable, kind of nice sounding things, I get a different ending. So I'm excited. Believe me, if I wanted to embezzle $2 million, you never know about it. Winston sighs, then says, I wouldn't make an accusation of such magnitude without corroboration. He slides a tablet across the table in your direction. Here you'll find a summary of the evidence we have against you. Unapproved requisition of resources, company funds funded into well-hidden accounts that can ultimately trace back to you, etc. He waits while you examine the tablet. It displays various transaction receipts, emails, computer logs, and so forth. Overall, it is just as Winston said. The evidence is clear. You have stolen $2 million or thereabouts from MetaHuman. And yet, in your heart of hearts, what do you know to be the truth of the matter? Okay. I'm guilty. I have stolen, but nowhere near. I'm a criminal many times over, but theft has never been my delinquency of choice. I'm innocent of this crime. The evidence is false. I wouldn't be averse to corporate theft per se, but in this case, I'm innocent. Smash keys, the supervillain. Right? I've expended considerable efforts tracking your activities, Winston says, so I think I'm entitled to some answers. I'll ask a couple questions and I'd appreciate truthfulness. First, do you consider yourself a charitable person? Second, did you commit this crime? Well, just getting right to it. Winston, you know me, man. Winston, I'm over here. No, look. Winston, sound of my voice. Thank you. Why are you looking out the window, Winston? I'm not especially charitable, but I prefer not to admit that. Yes, I consider myself kind, and no, I didn't steal that money. Laws are artificial construct of society. I prefer the notion of moral right and wrong, and I've always tried to do right. I'm kind enough, I guess, and no, I'm not a thief. I answer both questions honestly. I am charitable, yes, and though I'm not necessarily law-abiding, I am innocent in this case. I answer both these questions honestly. Charitable? No. I'm actually rather selfish. But I'm not the thief you're looking for, despite the overwhelming evidence. Well. Winston frowns. My question is about your nature. What? My question about your nature is to satisfy my own curiosity. I find you can learn a lot about a person if you test their self-regard. As for your denial of this crime, I'd hoped for more cooperation on your part. Initial candor 66. Initial ruthlessness 66. So that must be a thing, right? A moment's pause, and then you say, well, this evidence seems damning. What's next? Where do we go from here? There's one more matter I'd like to discuss with you, says Winston. Remind me, what career route brought you to MetaHuman? What's your professional background? Oh, well, I was in marketing. Yep. I was a marketing major who just kind of fell into the path of supercrime, supervillainy. You have a sneaking suspicion that Winston knew precisely what professional trajectory you followed, and you wonder a few moments as if his motives in asking, what? And you wonder a few moments at his motives in asking you the question. I imagine that news has filtered down to your department concerning MetaHuman's performance of late. I've heard some things, you say, as much from external media as internal sources. Then you know we're in a bad situation, says Winston. Our existing products have been the source of a series of legal disputes and public relations fiascos. All current product developments have been frozen pending the resolution of lawsuits that could drag on for years. Despite decades of success, we've essentially been reduced to a company starting out from zero. We're just barely allowed to continue trading on the New York Stock Exchange, but President Takai himself is keeping an eye on us. And then there's our CEO, Anuru Katariki, who has literally disappeared amid rumors of gross professional misconduct and an assortment of criminal activities. MetaHuman's best investigators can't find him, and they are very, very good at locating people. I've heard stories about Mr. Katakiri's disappearance, you say, but I wasn't aware of the specifics. We're trying to keep those things secret, Winston tells you. Have you ever met Anuru Katariki? Not personally, no. Really? Now that is curious. He has been very interested in you for years. The employment contract of the CEO of MetaHuman Incorporated contains a very specific clause that allows him to name his successor should he suddenly be incapacitated and unable to fulfill his professional obligations. For example, if he suddenly disappears. Mr. Katariki has chosen to exercise that clause, and he has named you as his replacement. Well, for a moment, you're sure you must have misheard Winston. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Then let me be as blunt as possible. You are to take over the position of Chief Executive Officer of MetaHuman Incorporated for a minimum period of 1 year, with the salary, privileges, and obligations that the role affords. And as for this recent matter of you stealing $2 million from the company, we'll forget about that. As a gesture of goodwill, you may of course decline this post if you prefer. Should you choose to do so, however, MetaHuman will aggressively prosecute you for your recent criminal activities. Winston gives you a few moments to absorb that, and at last you manage to say, why me? Why did Mr. Katariki want me for this job? Winston sits forward in his chair. We don't know. And we'd very much like to. In truth, MetaHuman would break this clause. It would be costly and tiresome, and no doubt details would leak to the press and we'd have to answer some uncomfortable questions. But it could be done. And yet, we still wouldn't know why Katariki chose you for this job. How better to get that information than indulge him? So you really have a very simple choice. Take this job with its excellent pay, and the publicity and opportunities for networking that will boost your employment potential 1,000-fold, no matter how things turn out. Or go to prison and be forgotten. Winston rises and crosses the room, one slender finger staying in contact with the edge of the meeting room's table. You note he moves with remarkable self-assurance. I'll give you a little time to think about it, he says, and passes you a slim dossier. Here's your contract. Read over and complete the personal information. Human resources stuff and sign at the bottom. You can bring it to my office at the end of the corridor when you're ready. Alone now, you look across the city before you, trying to take in the full impact of this brief meeting. Really, what choice can there be? Somewhat absently, you look down at the document he has left you, as well as a lengthy contract outlining your obligations as CEO. It includes the standard personnel form. The first question is, male, female. Sex, MF. Male, female, it's a little more complicated than that, but I guess I'll check male. It's a little more complicated than that, but I guess I'll check female. I confine myself to such labels. I won't answer the question. I don't answer that. I refuse. Preferred title, Mr., Miss, Mrs., Miss, Doctor, Professor. You can actually call me Dr. Professor Smash Keys. Professor Smash Keys. First name. What? Why? Why are you doing this to me? May, Molly, Morgan, Naomi. Just like, this is a checkbox, right? You go to, he's like, okay, your sex, even though they probably shouldn't have to ask you that. Your title. Okay, what's your name? Aubrey, Cameron, Casey, Charlie, Darby, Jamie, Gabriel. It's actually Professor Darby Smash Keys. Next, family name. It's actually Dr. Darby, Professor Darby, none of these. Indicate your family name. Smash Keys. It wasn't originally Smash Keys. It got changed to Smash Keys when we came over on a boat. They changed it. You read through the pages of the employment contract. Should you accept, you will be responsible only to the company's shareholders. You know that even though MetaHuman is a publicly held company, a core of 6 main shareholders collectively hold a controlling share of the company. And though the identities of some of that group are not even publicly known, they will be essentially your bosses. This employment contract is to run for a period of just 1 year, after which the main shareholders will reevaluate your performance and assess your future desirability in this position. Ominous. As Winston said, MetaHuman is a company that has so far casually exploited the dark, forbidden powers, and such willingness to do so has seeped down from the company's shareholders. If you are found undesirable, you wonder what form the shareholders' wrath will take. And yet, what choice do you really have if you refuse to accept this job? You have no doubt that MetaHuman will prosecute for the gross theft, and their evidence appears solid. You will be convicted. Years in prison or a shot at glory and brilliance. You initial each page of the contract and sign your name at its end. You find Winston in his office at the end of the corridor. It's signed, you say, placing the contract before him. Let me be the first to offer my congratulations, he says. I hope our relationship will be long and prosperous. Now, come with me. Your first duty is a public announcement to state your acceptance of this post. Look at Smash Keys going, just become first day on the job, I'm already a CEO. Professor. Dr. Professor Darby Smash Keys. I won't forget you threatened me with prison, Winston. Now let's go. Wait, now that I'm officially in charge here, I want answers. What's really going on? Out of curiosity, who would have been the next in line if CEO if I'd refuse? Yeah. Why? You're wondering who might be jealous and angry at your appointment as CEO? Something like that, you say. Then you can rest easy. No replacement had been firmly decided on. The shareholders would most have likely advocated an external search. They'd have poached an inexperienced candidate from one of our competitors, Scion, or one of the smaller companies. Now we really have to leave. Winston pages his assistant, Miss Nakamura, and the three of you descend to the building's lobby and pass through the great revolving door, out to your waiting car. There on the sidewalk, you take a moment to look up at the tower reaching up into the sky above you. It's 570 feet tall. Aside from the Space Needle, it's the tallest building in Seattle. Including sublevels, it contains 88 floors. And now it's mine. Professor Smashkeys, I'm your new assistant. You glance up, your official Cadillac is parked in front of you, one of the many perks of being CEO of MetaHuman. Beside it stands a man of 50 or so, his hand extending in greeting. Robert Leach, a pleasure to meet you. Mr. Leach here was Anuru Katariki's personal assistant, says Winston. Beside you. Now he's yours. A pleasure to meet you, Mr. Leach. I'm going to depend on you bringing me up. Is it better if I read these by myself? And then just say it out loud? I can cut it all together, maybe? Pleasure, Mr. Leach. I'm going to depend on you to bring me up to date for a lot of the day-to-day business here. You work closely with Anuru Katariki. How did you find him? Of course, I get my own PA. Ooh, I'm going to have a long shopping list of chores for you, Robert. I'm not used to such formality. You should just call me Darby. Why'd I pick Darby? What a terrible name. I apologize if your name's Darby, by the way. No offense, Mr. Leach, but aren't you a little old to be a PA? How did you find Anuru? Mr. Katariki was a supremely intelligent man, but also respectful, considerate. He had little tolerance for errors or laziness. The smallest smile crosses Leach's face. Fortunately, I am rarely error-prone or lazy. You, Winston, and your assistant climb into the back of the Cadillac. Winston passes his assistant his tablet. The press release, he says. Miss Nakamura brings several documents up on the tablet screen and hands it to you. We've taken the liberty of preparing several contrasting press statements, Winston tells you. Each one is ready to go live on our company website. You only need to decide which strategy you want to back, and to announce it at the press conference in a few minutes from now. We'll release the corresponding documents as soon as you've announced your choice. You glance through the prepared statements. They variously exercise caution or expansion, innovation or reliance on tried and tested methods. Their tone paints you as either encouraging and inspirational, or a stern figure capable of making tough decisions at a tough time. I'm completely underprepared for this, you tell Winston. You can't possibly expect me to decide this company's strategy for the coming year in just a few minutes. It has to be now, Winston says. This media event has been in the works for a while. Perhaps you're under the illusion that this conference is a result of your appointment as CEO. In fact, the reverse is true. The controlling shareholders have until now been undecided about Anuru Katariki's wish to appoint you as the head of the company. It is this growing media circus that has forced them to come to a consensus, and they've decided to back you. He leans forward. Professor Smashkeys, this statement is just a public relations exercise. Announce whichever strategy you think will make MetaHuman look good. Consider the short-term and long-term impact of whatever you say, and remember, you'll be free to change your mind later behind closed doors. What strategy would you announce in my place, Mr. Q? Mr. Leach, what do you think about Anuru Katariki? What do you think Anuru Katariki would do if you were here right now? I need to be briefed. I need to know about the current events at MetaHuman. Who will be at this press conference? Who are the big names to watch out for? No, I need to know what's going on. What would you like to know? You haven't already learned during your tenure at MetaHuman, asks Winston. We are an international corporation specializing in the field of metahuman advancement. To the general public, we achieve such feats with innovative technological developments. In truth, we have also the ability to call upon sorcerous powers or devices of extraterrestrial origin. Recent legal problems have forced us to abandon all current developments and begin a new set of enhancements from scratch. These are the essentials. Now, if a journalist asks you something you can't answer, simply say no comment, or take your best guess, whichever you think will be a more satisfying answer. The Cadillac journey is far too quickly for your liking. You arrive at the Perch Hotel, where the press conference will take place. You peep through the door of the Perch Hotel's conference hall. 40 or so people are seated there, fidgeting and chatting to one another in low voices. Most are journalists. You recognize a handful of others as employees of MetaHuman. "They're waiting for you, Professor Smashkeys," says Winston. "I hope you feel up to a little improv. Miss Nakamura, lead me to the podium, please." You and Winston, led by his assistant, pass through the aisle in the center of the room. The assembled audience members fall silent. The only sound that remains is the soft click, click, click of digital cameras. Winston takes the raised podium, pauses a moment, and then says, "MetaHuman Incorporated is a company in crisis, not a financial or ethical crisis as some sources of media have incorrectly reported, nor even a crisis of the heart, of the soul. A company, a corporation, is at its core merely a group of people working together toward a common goal, and MetaHuman contains the best, the brightest, and the most motivated team of people I've ever been fortunate enough to work alongside. No. Our crisis has been one of focus, of direction. For some weeks now we have lacked a head. We've lacked a leader with the vision to drive us to resounding success this coming year. This is no longer the case. There has been much speculation concerning who would take that role. That speculation may now end. Earlier today, I had the honor of being the first to extend my congratulations to our new Chief Executive Officer, Professor Darby Smashkeys. Now I give you that same honor." He nods once at the crowd before him, and they break into a rather restrained applause. He takes a step back, leaving the podium clear. "You're up," he murmurs. You step up to the podium, momentarily envious of Winston's inability to see the crowd before you. As the applause dies down, you clear your throat and begin your speech. "Good afternoon, and thank you for all coming here today. I emphasize a company strategy based on innovation and daring decisions. I stress a cautious strategy building on well-established methodology. I announce a strategy that is neither overly aggressive nor defensive, but based on better utilization of existing resources and advantages. I focus on austerity measures, budget cuts, and staff layoffs. No, we're going full tilt. Innovation, daring decisions. Like most of you in this room, I have over the past weeks given some thought to the identity of the next CEO of MetaHuman. My own name was, if I confess, quite far down the list." A few chuckles around the room. "And yet, I have been nominated for this position. Why? Because MetaHuman is a company in need of change and innovation. What advantage do I have over the more established candidates who might have taken this position? I have a fresh perspective, new ideas. The response to your announcement is fairly muted, but then it's an approach that is hardly original. The trick will be to convince the group in front of you that you truly have the ability to back up this claim of innovative ability. You pause a moment, you allow your words to sink in, at least nobody seems overly negative, then you go on. You know, Albert Einstein was a lot smarter man than I, and he once said imagination is more important than knowledge. You know what else is more important? Having a multi-billion-dollar corporation to back up that imagination. In the past, MetaHuman CEOs may not have been honest with you. I will be first by admitting that many of our enhancements are based on extraterrestrial technologies. You lie. I'm lucky enough to have become head of the company that has remarkable foresight. New technologies are being developed and have already been pre-ordered. I am confident we'll maintain our leading position in the sector. You tell the truth. You know, I'm only the CEO because of the goodwill of my predecessor and company shareholders. I'm not sure why they want me for this job, but I hope I can live up to the trust they placed in me. So we talk about me, and we talk about aliens. Let's just talk about aliens. The audience is stunned for a few moments, and then without invitation, the questions begin to spill forth. Yet as they do, Winston Q clamps a hand on your shoulder, he pulls you back, and steps up to the podium in your place. You'll have to forgive Professor Smashkeys' sense of humor. It's something that we at MetaHuman have learned very gradually to love. Thank you for these inspirational, light-hearted words, Darby. In a moment, we'll open up the floor to a few questions. He starts clapping and the audience follows his cue. As they do, he leans in close to you and mutters, "Not smart." Still glancing around the room, you guess that the reaction to your honest words, hastily delivered as they were, are not wholly negative. Perhaps they may have caught the imagination of one or two journalists. Base leadership, base morale, base intimidation. Several journalists raise their hands. You pick one out, a man in his early 30s with graying temples. "Philip Mace of Suffolk Investor," he says, "your company is currently under a legal injunction barring you from using or selling any of your existing technology on the grounds that its source may be legally dubious. This has also impacted your customers who have spent large sums of money to pre-order the enhancements you should have provided. Do you plan to reimburse them? A difficult question. The injunction that Philip Mace is referring to is a major concern at MetaHuman right now, and realistically, any attempts to reimburse the money spent on forcibly abandoned contracts would likely bankrupt the company in its current state. The injunction was not imposed by us, and so the responsibility is not ours. Our customers should speak to the U.S. government about restitution. You tell the truth. Yes, we do, but not yet, as that would leave us in an unstable, untenable position. But later, yes, I'll put that in writing for you. You lie. Yes, ultimately we do. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. We don't have plans to reimburse hard cash, but should the customers continue to trade with us, we will give them preferential terms and reflect our losses. Absolutely. Oh yeah, we'll do company trade-ins for store credit, eh? Next. It's about as much of an assurance as the journalist had hoped for and reasonably well received. You select another journalist with a raised hand. Ariel Rodriguez, the money score, she says, by way of introduction. Staying with the subject of your company's current injunction, do you feel this ruling is fair? What steps are you taking to fight it? The injunction is likely a piece of devious legal maneuvering by MetaHuman's competitors, or its outright enemies. The ruling contends that MetaHuman's technologies are either stolen or fail to conform to U.S. regulations, and MetaHuman is hard-pressed to defend itself without public revealing that it works with magic and extraterrestrials. These claims are scandalous. We will fight them and we will disprove them. The injunction is part of an underhanded legal attack on our company. It's a fine example of how the American legal system can be abused. Yes, it's totally unfounded, but it also acted as a catalyst forcing us to innovate. In the long term, it will make us stronger. It's a small setback, and only that we are already developing new technologies, and a company as old and established as MetaHuman won't fall because of some concerns over red tape. Totally unfounded, forcing us to grow. It's an interesting angle and puts a positive spin on MetaHuman's current troubles. The crowd likes it. You nod toward the third journalist, and he stands. Anton Clark, the Sophic investor, he says. Somebody from your TV show already asked a question. You say, not without humor. Don't get greedy. He smiles, then goes on. It concerns me that MetaHuman has appointed a complete unknown as CEO at such a dangerous time. Aren't you simply being used as a scapegoat? Somebody to point the finger at when the company inevitably crumbles? Are you a patsy? It's a question that has been lurking at the back of your mind since Winston offered you the job. MetaHuman won't crumble, Anton, though if it does, feel free to call me up and say, I told you so. I assure you, I'm here because I have the skills to guide the company through this difficult period. No, that's not true. The company isn't the Machiavellian monster you suggest. Maybe. I'm here to answer serious questions. Next. I assure you. It's an uninspired answer, but you deliver it well. The audience before you wonders whether there may be some hidden depths to you after all. You take the next question. Robin Goodchild, she says. She is thin with sandy-colored hair and freckles. Where is Anaru Katariki? The woman is more casually dressed than most of the journalists in the room. She watches you patiently, with almost a challenging look about her, tapping the base of her pen against her chin. Robin Goodchild, you'll have to remember that name. It's a fine question. Anaru Katariki, your immediate predecessor as CEO of MetaHuman, disappeared several weeks ago. To your knowledge, nobody knows where he is. No idea? No, we're not going to say that. Anaru Katariki is currently under investigation for various acts of corporate crime. MetaHuman Incorporated fully supports the efforts of the FBI in locating him. Let's not do that. I don't know. He isn't here, which, as it turns out, is good news for me. I don't know, but let's remember that this country, a man is innocent until proven guilty, and hope that he returns safe and sound. I don't know, but if he shows up in my city after stealing from my company, I'll crush him myself. Let's make a joke. He isn't here? It's good for me. An attempt at humor falls a little flat. Oh well. One final question, please, announces Winston. You nod down at one of the older journalists in the room, a balding man in a too tight suit. He stands. Daniel Keel, True Believer magazine, he says. A few minutes ago you mentioned the use of extraterrestrial technologies. There's also anecdotal evidence of angelic and demonic forces at work in your company. Can you expand on that a little? Many of the other journalists in the room laugh or make derisive comments, but Daniel looks up at you earnestly, awaiting your response. It would be wiser, perhaps, not to confirm the man's suspicions. Don't tell me what to do, game. It's a choose your own adventure, and I'm choosing adventure. I evade the question by asking, do you believe in these anecdotal reports, Daniel? I opt for sarcasm. Absolutely. We've appointed the unicorn as head of HR, and I've just greenlit a project to drain Loch Ness. We'll flush Nessie out of hiding. I'm sure of it. No comment. I won't bullshit you, Daniel. Every possibility is on the table right now. Every single one. I say my prayers at night, Daniel. That's about as close to angels as I like to get. That's ludicrous. I won't answer it. As a colleague, Mr. Q said, it was just my poor idea of a joke. No, I'm afraid your suspicions are unfounded. I like this guy, asking the right questions. No comment, or do you believe in these anecdotal reports, Daniel? Yes, I do, he says. While I get the impression that you'll continue to do so, and my denial of these suspicions won't mean a great deal to you. He thinks about that. I guess you're right. Then, if you don't mind, I'll refrain from answering, you tell him. It's a neat way of handling the question without humiliating the man, and of avoiding the issue without outright lying about what takes place in your company. The journalists before you appreciate your cool handling of the matter, and maybe they look on Daniel with a little more kindness, too. Well, good job, Daniel. Whenever I go public about MetaHuman, I will call you first. Or what's her name? Robin? Winston steps up to the podium once more, saying, I'm afraid we'll have to draw things to a close here. Thank you for taking the time today. A few more photos, and then Miss Nakamura leads you and Winston out of the room side doors. Once out of sight of the journalist, however, Winston takes you by the arm, halting you. Quickly judge the mood of the room. How did it go? What are they going to write about us? You peek back through the doorway, watching and listening to the journalist, trying to guess the overall mood of the room. Oh, got an achievement. Media darling. They love me. Love me. The response to your talk is incredible. The journalists and the rest of the crowd seem almost reluctant to leave. You are the sole subject of the excited buzz of conversation in the room. For a few brief moments, you have a small sense of what it must be like to be a rock star, waiting in the wings to be called back on stage for an encore performance. Initial share price, 65. Initial image, 45. Winston nods, apparently satisfied. Fine. Let's get back to the tower. Now the hard work really begins. I am excited about this game. Well, that's probably a good spot to end on. I'm going to try to trim it up a little bit, get rid of a little bit of my flubs, me breathing heavily into the microphone, me stuttering, doing over a bunch of stuff again, but I really like this game. I might record some more. It took a lot out of me because I basically talked for like 30 minutes straight, like non-stop reading, right? But definitely check out MetaHuman Inc. Like I said, it was a couple bucks. It looks infinitely replayable, right? Like if I didn't talk about aliens, would what was his name? Kyle? Would that guy have spoken up? Probably not, right? Maybe he would have said something different. Maybe he wouldn't have said anything at all. Man, I am excited. Tell me what you like about this game. If you really do like it, let me know. I might keep playing. I probably am going to keep playing, but I have so many other games I want to get to. This has been... What is it? This has been Smash Keys playing Smash and Dash. Thank you for watching. You have yourself a nice day.